So
it's great though because
we're still working.
It's the best stuff.
Yeah. And also, it's been around forever.
I have no idea what that's for.
So,
Pat says if you have pimples, you spray it on.
So if you have this would be such a great promo.
We're recording.
Yeah,
Are we?
Yeah.
Oh, my bad. Yeah, no. So, well, you didn't. Anyways, so yeah, so like if you have a abrasion, right? I don't look smart. I use big words though. Might not be in the right context.
Abrasion.
Though. Yeah, but or acne, you spray that stuff and it will help like clear it up and make sure it stays disinfected. Yeah, great. They've been around though since like I wrestled since I was 4, and so they've been around. Yeah, nailed it. Been around since like I think like 10. We were using the Defense soap. Like it was like a lotion you'd rub on before you trained to make sure that you wouldn't get like.
Oh, they make that stuff too. Yeah.
But what's the worst thing you got on the mats?
Should
Should we be sharing this?
Yeah.
So, I mean, why not?
So actually, in like 2005, 2005, I got back from my Iraq, my first deployment, and I started training, fighting MMA. But I got like shrapnel from an RPG, and I still have scars and stuff. I got one here, and then on the back of my calf, a couple on my neck, and I got staph in those places, and like I started fighting, so I was like, maybe it's from the mats, a combo, but I had like staph that made my legs swell up like 3 times the size.
Yeah.
But I wasn't using Defense soap. If
I
was using Defense soap, it would have helped. Yeah, it would have helped for sure.
That's scary because it once it gets into your bloodstream and you seeing it go up your veins and stuff like that.
Yeah.
That's when you got to be careful.
I actually could barely walk, but I was a huge Matt Hughes fan. And he came to the PX, him and Stefan Bonner came to the PX. And so I like waited in line on 1 foot to meet them and immediately went to the hospital.
Oh my gosh.
Oh my God.
That's a dedicated fan right there.
Yeah,
For real.
they gave me like an IV of like antibiotics, and like I was there for like a day and a half. And then they let me out of the hospital, but they didn't put me on a profile. So in the Army, if you're injured, they're supposed to put you on a profile. They didn't. So I showed up to work like 3 days later, like, hey, you got a PT test tomorrow. I was like, bro, my leg, like I'm
Can't
dying.
walk.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll do it on one leg.
Yeah, I still passed. No big deal.
There you go. How about you? What was the worst thing that you've gotten on the mats?
I've gotten staph. I've gotten ringworm. It sucks, man. And you know, it's
so
kind of
bad.
It makes you feel like, dang, was it me?
Yeah,
You know?
yeah. But also, though, like I feel like if you spend enough time on the mats, you're eventually gonna get something.
Right.
Like, because especially if like you train in a gym that doesn't have showers, or you have a train in a gym that has people in and out all day, like you can't control that.
That's it.
Yeah. So yeah. But
I feel you.
yeah. Anyways, welcome, because we've already been going for like 5 minutes. So welcome to another Fighter Stance podcast. With me, as always, is Nick Buttigieg.
Hi, Nick Buttigieg, as Pat likes to call me. Yeah, we're here.
Yeah.
The Sheepdog. We have 2 guests today. Pat,
Yes.
could you introduce both of them for us?
Yes, 2 badass female guests. We had a female guest earlier, so these are actually Angelico's our first one. You 2 are the second.
No, we actually had Micah on.
Oh, that's right. I wasn't on that one, though.
Yeah, you were on that one.
So
we're just doing all the women.
Yes.
yeah, we have
Girl power.
UFC fighter and all-around badass Michelle Waterson Gomez.
Yes.
Correct? And one of our Sheepdog instructors. Also, as much as Tim has talked about you, I'm like a little bit terrified. Like low-key, like I'm nervous. Casey, thank you for coming. She has 3 Lovato affiliates in Oklahoma, so that's also pretty badass. Yeah. It's awesome.
Actually, one of them from Texas. So.
Oh, my bad. Even more. So you have schools in Oklahoma and Texas. Do they like ever come together? And,
Yeah.
like, and
You guys fight?
Yeah, once a month.
Yeah.
Once a month? That's impressive.
Yeah.
Yeah, we train together once a month.
It's hard getting everybody in this building to get on the mats once a month and train together.
Yeah. So that's impressive. How do you do that? What's like, how do you incentivize the coming together of schools? Because it's not close.
I think, well, it's a lot different than here. It's rural and they're small towns. And so they're spread apart. And so I think everybody likes to have somebody new to roll with, right?
That makes sense.
So it's not your same people that you train with every day.
Yeah, that's the hard part is when you get used to your training partners, you know what they're going to do, you know their moves. It's kind of nerve-wracking, but it's also fun to get new blood.
Yeah. Well, the thing with that, like back in the day, though, like cross training was frowned upon. Like it was like I went to a Marcelo Garcia seminar and got yelled at by my coach.
Really?
Yeah. But now it's like a normal like thing because like you can elevate your game so fast just because if again you get comfortable you're training at and people like do the same thing over and over again. Like all gyms have styles, right?
Right.
Like if you hear like we're a top game wrestler, like,
I don't know.
Smash Nose.
We have different styles because we have different instructors.
Well,
and
hold on.
everyone's my bad.
I was gonna if you come to the afternoon classes, but if you come to the
okay.
evening classes, your butterfly guard's sick because
Yeah.
John Carlo has like the nastiest butterfly guard like leg lock game in the world. So
Yeah, he's like on a whole nother level. He's teaching. Pat likes to call it like PhD, and like Pat's teaching is like what is it, like high schools with cigarettes?
no high school. So it's like a community college, like a high school with ashtrays. Yeah.
A high school with ashtrays.
Yeah, he's like 70% of your thumb will push down on the lower third part of his tricep, and then you'll like use elevation to get him off 70% off of his axe. So like, hey, just push him that way.
It's so impressive.
Yeah. So, Michelle, you fought in the UFC for how long? How many fights do you have in the UFC?
I've been fighting professionally for 17 years now. In the UFC, I want to say probably a good 8 years of that. I mean, they didn't. I was fighting. My pro debut was in 2007.
Wow.
So, and before they introduced the strawweight division to the UFC, I was fighting at 105 at atom weight. And so when they opened up the strawweight division, I was like, you know what, I'm gonna go. You know, if I was gonna put in all this training and hard work, I might as well try to do it on the biggest platform. So I just jumped up in weight.
That's awesome.
Casey, you also fought too, correct?
Yeah, my first pro fight was in 1999.
Oh my God!
I love
So
it.
impressive.
I was a sophomore in high school.
Yeah.
Normally,
I
I'm the
know.
oldest guy in here. So. Or Matt Smith. When Matt Smith came on, he's the oldest. But we're not going to talk about his age because he's terrifying. So there's that.
He's the scariest person here.
So it like at that time, was it hard to find opponents? Because I felt like even like when I was fighting, it was like you had to take whatever you could get.
There was like 5 of us in the whole country.
So you just fought all of them.
No, I didn't fight all of them. No, I didn't fight all of them.
Just
but
she
yeah,
fought the same
absolutely.
one 6 times.
Yeah. But I definitely saw it grow immensely, obviously.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, like back then when I've heard, right, like I didn't start training, I'm so late to the game. I started training in 2018, but like you could name every purple belt in the country, I think, in like 99.
Yeah, it was
Or something like
Lovato.
that.
I think that was it.
Like,
He was like,
definitely the only American
yeah.
purple belt,
Oh
probably.
yeah, you would see Lovato at like a jiu-jitsu tournament, and you'd be like, everybody'd be like, "That's Lovato. He's been to Brazil." You're like, what? And he used to like because he was a poor jiu-jitsu kid, not poor, but he was trying to like make a living. So he would go to Brazil and compete, and then he would record everything and then burn it on like CDs or DVDs.
They didn't have DVDs then.
Yeah, and then. Whatever, nerd. And then
it was VHS. That's
but
what we're talking about.
Yeah, he would sell them at like jiu-jitsu tournaments, and that's how I found out who Lovato was.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, there was no YouTube. You couldn't just like go Google how do I do this crazy inversion.
But like starting that, like even 2007 or 98, like so it was a challenge to find opponents for both of you. Like, did you like you said you had to move weight classes just to get into the UFC?
Mm-hmm.
Like for you, was it even a thing? Was like weight like you were like, I'll just fight whoever?
No, weight classes were a thing. Yes. There weren't that many. I mean, you just fought who they offered you, basically.
And you trained at the pit though at that time, right?
Yes, I trained at the pit.
So rough.
Yeah, I started at the pit in 1996.
Wow.
And I was there for 18 years.
How long? So from the time you started training until you had your first fight, how long was that?
3 years.
Nice. What about you? Because you've been doing martial arts forever, right?
Yeah. I grew up doing karate, and I thought like when I got my black belt in karate, I thought I was like the shit, you know.
How old
I've
were you?
arrived.
I got my black belt when I turned 18.
Nice.
And then, so I was like, man, I'm a black belt in karate.
Yeah.
I should be able to hold my own. And I went to this like little community center kickboxing class, and it just took me off my feet.
Yeah. I think that there's so many like when you do it like again, I did very little traditional martial arts. I grew up wrestling
Since he was 4.
and like jujitsu. Thanks. So like I didn't never experience that, but you hear so many stories. Like Joe Rogan talks about how like he was did taekwondo and then he did kickboxing, got kicked in the leg. He's like, this is not okay.
Right.
And then he did jujitsu and just got like murders. Like I have to learn that. I
Yeah.
think that's so many people like path towards like jujitsu or MMA is that like you have a base, which is good. Like it's always good to have a base, and then you add different things to that game. So like
100%. Yeah, I did feel like it gave me a foundation for sure. But it made me realize how very elementary my knowledge was, you know, and still is, you know, even now after, you know, forever. Because even in MMA, right? So I started fighting MMA and learning grappling just so that I could be successful in MMA fighting. And then I got matched up with a girl that was a brown belt. We were getting ready to fight for a world title. And I was like a 10-1 underdog. Everybody kept saying she was going to beat me because she was this brown belt in jiu-jitsu, and I had a 0 belt. I had I had a clear belt, you know. So I was like, "Oh man, maybe I should like throw on the gi and, you know, see what it's all about." And because, you know, if I was going to be going up against a brown belt, I needed to know where her mindset was, and that's kind of what introduced me to gi. But even just the difference between like MMA grappling versus gi grappling, or even, okay, so it's like MMA grappling because you have punches and the cage versus just no gi grappling and you don't have any punches versus gi grappling. They're just like 3 different strategies, scenarios,
100%.
games, everything.
Wait until this weekend, right? You're here for Protector 1. Wait until they start pulling in knives
Right.
and guns, and you're like, oh no.
I think because I fought MMA, not like at a super high level, but I think the biggest thing for me, because I again, wrestling, I think it's the holding someone down.
Yeah.
In a jiu-jitsu match, you're not concentrated necessarily on holding someone down until you pass their guard. Right? You pass their guard, you get side control, you are. But before that, when you're in their guard, not really, right? It's about posture, maybe standing up, trying to pass. But holding the person on bottom down doesn't really become a thing until you pass the guard. Now with body locks, it's changed a little bit. But like, and then also, if they can touch your face, that means they can hit you. So there's that too.
Right.
But yeah, so I think it's like you said, the mindset of just like positioning a little bit. But yeah, they're drastically different. Like I think John Danaher talked about it with Gary Tonin about how drastically different the 2 styles are. So it's pretty
And I
wild.
love it all, you know. I'm here for it. I'm here to learn. But it is frustrating when you get to a certain level and you think you know it, and then you get humbled very quickly because you're put out of your element. And
do you still train at Greg or Jackson Wink, or
yeah, I still fight. You know, I still have.
that's your camp though, right?
I train at Jackson Wings in Albuquerque. That's how I know Tim.
Yeah. That's both of you picked a amazing camps to train at. Also, a little bit terrifying. I've heard the stories about Jackson Wink, like that, because Andrew and Tim.
Yeah.
And Andrew tells me about like how he was sparring, and one of his rounds with John Jones, and then his next round was with like Tim.
Yeah.
And I was like, I don't even want to be in like the same state as either one of those guys. Like,
it was, you know what, honestly, it's really crazy. At one point when I first got there, it was like Rashad Evans, you know, Tim Kennedy, Nate Marcourt, Keith Jardine, Joey Villasenor, who is like a Pride guy, you know, he's been there forever. And I like Donald Cerrone, Leonard Garcia,
Wow.
And the list goes on. And it's just like, you're just surrounded by such amazing, talented fighters. And it's kind of like iron sharpens iron. They're all there for each other, you know, beating each other up, but at the same time getting each other better. It's really cool.
yeah, that is awesome. Also, just Albuquerque's a rough place too, right? Like one of our guys here's a cop in Albuquerque. He moved to Cedar Park, and he said that like he was like it's drastically different. But I think it's like that Albuquerque like vibe. Everybody's there is just tough.
It's kind of like it's the original Wild Wild West, you know. And it kind of goes unnoticed, but yeah, I think we're like number 2 underneath Chicago for like crime rates.
What a great thing to have.
I know, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, you know, at the Acoma gym, we used to get homeless guys come in all the time and try to like spar, and Coach Jackson would just let them come in. Okay, there's gloves over there. Like, put them on. We'll see.
Yeah, good
Oh my
luck.
god. Oh my god.
I don't think this is going to go how you think it's
Yeah,
going
and
to go.
then you train at the pit, and you had people like Tim and Chuck, Glover Teixeira, also terrifying.
Yeah.
Do not want to be in either one of those, like the same state as anything that's going on in there. And that was like Glover Teixeira when he was like young. And Tim, when he was young, I fought Tim in 2005.
You
Wow.
Yeah. He
How'd that go?
How'd it go?
Wrestling background.
I took him down
Yeah.
They fought in the first ever Army Combatives tournament.
Oh, okay.
in the
Which-
finals. So it
in the
was
finals.
full on MMA rules, but Tim cheated.
Oh man.
course he did.
So if you asked him, he'll tell you. But so I took him down, and then he stood up. Sorry, let's start over. So we went to touch gloves. Tim pulled his glove back and Superman punched
Oh
me.
my
Like right off the
gosh.
yeah.
Smart.
Yeah, 100%.
Good
He's like, what do you mean? It was legal. They bring the bell. I was like, I mean,
I guess.
a jerk move, Tim. But I took him down, took his back. He stood up, and then he took me down, took my back, but he flattened me out, and he threw because apparently in Hawaiian Kempo or whatever Tim did, they don't throw hooks to your head when you're on the ground. They throw straight punches. So he was just teeing off on the back of my head, and I didn't have real cornermen. Like I went by myself. Like I was the only person on my team. They didn't send a coach with me. It was just me.
They barely even let him like into
Yeah.
the competition.
Yeah.
They're like, "Are you sure?"
Yeah,
Like,
and so Tim took my back, flattened me out, and then started punching me in the back. My corner guys were like drunk guys I found in the just to carry the bucket out and give me water. And Tim's just teeing off on the back. Man, I'm looking at the refs like, he's hitting me in the back of the head. And the ref's like, keep going. I'm like, is he talking to me or him? Does he want him to keep hitting me? So I tapped, and that's when I met Tim.
Okay.
Yeah.
So did you guys become friends after that?
I don't know if we became friends until a little while ago when I started working here. I think we knew each other, and I would be like, hey, remember that time I took you down? He's like, remember that time I knocked you unconscious by punching you in the back of the head? I was like, you're a nice guy. And then Colton Smith, you know Colton? He trained there a little bit. He won the Ultimate Fighter. It was so Tim, Colton,
he's Pat
and
Taylor's
Andrew.
best friend.
Yeah.
Okay.
Andrew Craig would all train together.
Mm-hmm.
And they would come down to the combative school at Fort Hood where I worked at. And Tim would spar. And they're like, hey, he'd be like, I'm just going to go light today. And I'd be like, oh, cool. I'll spar with you. And then 5 minutes later, my eyes aren't tracking.
Yeah.
And I'm laying on the mat looking at the lights and everything's just going back and forth. And I was like, he's like, are you okay? I was like, I hate you.
That's strategy right there.
Yeah, I hate you so much, Tim.
Get your guard down.
Yeah.
No, I think the real thing is just Tim's light and Pat's light are two totally different levels.
Right, right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
My light is like, we're going to pillow fight.
We're gonna have fun, guys. Like this, we're just gonna lightly spar.
Shadow box sparring
Yeah.
with your friend.
Tim's light is, I'm not going to take you down and beat you up. I'm going to do it standing up.
So at that time when you were training, did you have any like female partners, or were you training with most of the guys?
I trained with most of the guys. There was one, my best friend now, but she had a karate background, like national karate, whatever. And she came in, and I was teaching a bunch of like the kickboxing classes. And she's worked with a Muay Thai guy for a while. And eventually he's like, hey, will you spar with her? And I was like, okay, yeah, sure. And so we get in there. She tells this story now. We get to speak together sometimes. And she kicks me right in my head, right in my face. And she says my eyes got really big. And I just was like, okay.
Here we go.
And I put her in the corner. I just beat the
Teed
crap.
off on her.
And she said she was thinking, this girl's going to be my best friend. So she and I trained together. We were it, you know.
Yeah.
We trained together every day for all of our fights.
Mm-hmm.
So
That's awesome.
That's so awesome.
What about you? Was there, when you went to Jackson Wink, was there a lot of females there or?
Not really, but that's kind of why I was drawn out there. So I used to train with Cowboy Cerrone in Colorado,
Okay.
and so before I had come out to Albuquerque, I did a reality show in Vegas called Fight Girls. So it was like the Muay Thai tough
Ultimate
show.
Fighter, yeah.
Ultimate Fighter.
Ultimate Fighter, yeah.
And after that show was over, Donald was like, hey, there's some girls down here, Julie Kedzie and Holly Holm. Holly Holm's a professional fighter. So you have some girls to train with. Both Julie Kedzie and Holly Holmes are like twice my, they're not my weight class. But I was like, yeah, let's go.
Julie's actually good. Well, she was my friend. We were on a show together as well. And so I came to train with her there in Albuquerque, I think 3 different times.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, that's cool.
Oh my
And I
gosh.
watched her. If she had a fight coming up there,
Mhm.
I would come and like just hang out with her and watch
Yeah.
her fight.
So was that Sheepdog show? Were you guys feeling
No,
like
it was this ultimate. It was like the Ultimate Women's Challenge. Remember when she went to that?
Mhm.
It was really lame, but it was really fun.
Yeah, no, I mean that's how you get the girls together.
It's a crazy, like the MMA community is small, but I imagine that the female MMA community is even smaller. So like, it's cool that you guys like know the same people.
I was really excited when I got to be on that show because I just got to meet I got to train with other girls.
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah. What was it like when you started and no other women were really like doing it? Like what was like the biggest draw? Like why do you want to fight?
So I was a single mom since I was 18 years old, and I was putting myself through college, and I started kickboxing when I was in high school, but really the reason I fought professionally at all is because I needed money. They're like, "Hey, you fight this girl for $1,000 this weekend?" I was like, "Yep, sure, I'll do that."
That's pretty good. That's
So
way
it's just
better
a
than
flat?
Pat was getting like free drinks to fight and get brain injuries.
$1,000, that's a pretty good payday.
Yeah, from day one. So
Yeah, because my pro debut, it was $300, and that covered my medicals. Like,
yeah, thanks.
The physical and everything just to be able to fight. Is
yeah, but I was stoked. I didn't care. I was like, let's go.
I fought Rico Rodriguez, who was a former UFC heavyweight
remember
champion.
him.
I fought him for $1,000. Yeah,
That buys a lot of top ramen.
2 weeks notice. It was rough, but I did pretty good against him, so I was pretty happy.
Pat had like a decent amateur career and then lost to like everyone who went to the UFC and became like people.
Thanks for bringing that up. Doesn't hurt at all. Now I work at Sheepdog with your stupid face.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Good path. It's a good path.
Yeah, it was a good path. Yeah, and now we're all best friends.
Yeah,
it's super fun.
But it's crazy when you think about stuff like that, because like the longer I've been fighting, the more the less I put value on a win or a loss. Because I used to put so much value on it, but I can feel that I feel like you could be winning a fight and make a split second wrong decision and lose. And so you're going to hang your head low when you walk away from that fight, having been able to do a lot of things. You were working in camp and succeeding in a lot of things, getting through camp in general, making weight, it's just so much to get through a fight camp and then show up on the night of a fight. And then to walk away after a loss and hold your head down low, to me, I think is like kind of like a waste of energy, because you walk away, win or lose, a better person.
Yeah.
Also, too, is like, this has happened to everyone, is you could get like a bad like judge's decision. Like that happens all the time. Like I think that depending on what state you're in and like who the judges are, like you could like there's fights where are very one-sided and you're like, how did that guy lose? Like, so it's kind of the same thing. Like just, you got to learn something and then grow. And
that's kind of the name of the game of martial arts is like, how much can you get beat up and still be happy about it?
That's awesome.
For me, it was just getting in there.
Yeah.
It was like, this is me challenging myself. Like that always meant more to me than, what people said or.
Yeah. You just wanted to like improve yourself and be like, what else can I do? Because you have like a big background, right? Like you have trained a lot of different martial arts.
Well, just at the pit, which was basically a belted MMA system. And they just sparred super hard all the time and smashed each other's brains. Now everybody has brain damage.
Sounds familiar.
Yeah.
Maybe we shouldn't have sparred that hard all those years.
Yeah.
So I was there for a really long time. And then after the pit and that whole, and when I retired from MMA, I was a police officer, which is not the question. And then I finally put a gi on. So it wasn't a bunch of different martial arts.
Okay.
It was just once I was done with MMA, I finally put a gi on and kind of started there.
What was that like the first time putting on a gi?
Well, here and there, I had put a gi on a little bit. Like back in the day, like early 2000s, we would go to Vegas sometimes and we would go to John Lewis's gym and they would all be in a gi. And I would just like look at Chuck and I'd be like, what am I supposed to do? He's like, here, just put this gi on. And I'm like, okay, here we
What is
go.
this nonsense?
Yeah, you're down for the ride.
Wait, hold on. Chuck Liddell put a gi on?
No, I don't remember. He always wore a gi at the pit, but like he just made
told
me put
you to
one
put
on.
the gi on.
Yeah.
He didn't put it on.
I was like, oh, I'm going to do this class. And these people are all wearing gis.
Yeah.
So, I had no idea. So,
Yeah.
and actually, if you just don't let it get in your head and you just do jujitsu, it's, it's not that big a deal. But you're like, why is this person grabbing onto me?
Yeah. Hashtag let go of my clothes.
Yeah, look at my clothes. But then I realized I embraced it and I was like, oh, there's like a million new things to learn.
Yeah.
And so, but I was that no gi person that was like, nah, I don't want anything to do with that. And then once I embraced it, I fell in love with it.
Kind of the same way. Like
Yeah.
for me, it's like I hated the gi. I thought it was the dumbest thing ever because I was fighting him. I was like, this it's not practical. It doesn't make sense. And then I lost a couple fights, and my coach was like, hey, like I was like, I'm retiring. I'm not gonna do jiu-jitsu. I'm not doing nothing. I quit. And he was like, no, throw the gi on, come in twice a week, and just hang out. I was like, okay, cool. So I did that, and then like I started figuring out all the different things you can do in the gi, and I was like, I love this thing.
Yeah.
And as I get older, I'm like, except for my hands, but everything else, I'm like, this is the best because I can hold people down. It's easier to wrist lock people.
Which you've been doing all day today.
And yesterday and the day before.
That's his like new thing. I mean, maybe not new. That's like the wrong word. But on Thursdays, he calls it Dark Arts Thursday, and he started just like wrist locking everyone. Now his like whole goal is anytime we roll together to wrist lock me. And my whole goal is just not to get wrist locked.
Right.
So like yesterday, he jumped into like a mounted triangle. I'm like, at least I didn't get wrist locked.
Yeah.
It's I give up like clear submissions to wrist lock people now. Like
You're that guy.
Kimura,
You're that guy.
I can go
Don't
for
be
a
that guy.
Kimura or I could go for a wrist lock.
To be fair, as he's saying this, like he's giving up like legitimate submissions against like blue belts and purple belts that he outweighs by like 60 pounds.
That's not my fault. They need to lift more weights. Also, if I could wrist lock Tim, I would, but you can't because it goes forearm, hand. It doesn't. There's no wrist there. Like,
That's just how he's built.
yeah. Also, you can't heel hook him because it goes calf, foot. You can't. There's nothing to turn.
There's nothing there.
Yeah. It goes like chest, neck,
head.
Yeah.
or head. Yeah. There's no neck.
No
there.
neck.
Yeah.
I
My
don't know.
man's built like a block.
I'd like to see Giancarlo get out there and roll with Tim. I don't think they've rolled in a while. I'd just like to see if he could grab a heel hook on him.
So I saw a video once, like, because again, this is before I started working here, but like the thing about like Austin, Texas now, like you could show up to like 10th Planet Austin on a Sunday and there's the top 5 grapplers in the world just walk into an open mat and you're like, I was going to leave, but now I'm going to fight these 3 guys and see what happens. And like, you'll see it like Nicky Rod, Craig Jones, like Victor Hugo. Like, and so you see Tim and you'll see videos of Tim and you'll be like, what is Tim got a gi on rolling Victor Hugo? Like, that's not a 23-year-old one of the best black belts in the world versus Tim Kennedy, retired MMA fighter. Like, what are you, sit down, Tim. But he's going at him.
Right, for sure.
I saw him blast double Victor Hugo and Victor Hugo's like, that was cute. And just slapped Tim. I was like, oh my God. Tim does that to me. I don't want to go there. They keep inviting me to like go work out with him. Like, you need to come to Roca and work out. I'm like,
I'm good.
I'm sick, man.
I've seen those workouts.
Yeah,
I
I
don't do
don't.
those workouts.
You guys do all body weight stuff. Like, no, not doing that. Yeah.
Pat's all about the bodybuilding muscles. He'll go.
Isn't
curl.
it funny how like the body weight's like way harder? You're like, huh, I can't breathe.
Yeah.
My ribs.
Yeah. I like to go to the gym and not sweat.
I can't. If I don't sweat, I feel like worthless. Like I didn't do anything.
I did whenever, but like when I was in the army and I was like training and stuff, I was like, yeah, we got to CrossFit, we got to run, we got to lift heavy, like body weight, whatever. And now I'm like, I'm good. I retired in May and I'm like, I'm not running. I'm going to the gym and like, I'm going to do a set, wait 6 minutes, do another set. Tim don't work out like that. Tim's workouts are like, also again, Tim has like 50% larger lung capacity than a normal human. So he's like a fucking X-Men too. So it's like one of those like,
He's an X-Men.
yeah. Yeah. And he also was like, hey, you want to go to San Diego with me? I was like, yeah, sure, I'll go. But apparently there's a bay there. It's like a mile swim. He's like, you want to do this swim with me? No, I don't want to do that at all.
Did you have a choice?
I haven't
It
gone
hasn't
yet.
happened yet,
I'm-
but he does not have a choice
No.
from my understanding. And the best part about all of this is Pat is deathly afraid of the water, so he thinks he's gonna get eaten by a shark.
if I can't see my feet, I go in the water until I can't see my feet. And then I'm turning
And then
around.
you turn around.
Yeah.
Oh well, I guess you're gonna get over your fear that day.
Yeah. Yeah. And again, it's not like,
Yeah.
I'm just not going to show up. We'll fly there and I'll just run away when he wants to do that. And then we'll do whatever we got to do.
I feel like you can't say no to Tim. Like he's just like, come do this thing. Like that's how he hired you. He's like, why aren't you here today at jiu-jitsu? You're like, I'm at my job. And you're like, come work for me.
Yeah.
It's weird.
Do you think that being a female MMA fighter that now, like, because you both started, like, you're like old school, like especially as far. Do you think it's easier to find opponents now and like that notoriety like now than it was when you first started? Because it's kind of that weird where you started, there wasn't a lot, so it's easier to be seen, but now it's bigger and everybody's watching it now. So like you've been main event for a couple fights or co-main events. So do you think it was easier back then or now? Do you know what I'm saying?
As far as like gaining like notoriety and traction?
Yeah.
You know, it's kind of hard to say because like, you know, I started my journey back then. And so it took me to where I am now. So it's kind of like built over the years. So now that I have like a pretty good foundation of I guess fans and supporters, they know of me, you know. So I've kind of built that, and I do think for the girls coming in, like even, especially in the strawweight division in the UFC, I feel like it's the most stacked division in the female on the female side, and so like anywhere between number one and 15 in the rankings, they're all killers, you know. So it's kind of like you can't just be a good fighter at that point. You have to be a good fighter. You have to be, you know, you have to have something that makes you stand apart from everybody else outside of just being a good fighter in order to get the UFC to want to bite, to want to invest their time and energy into you, to push you.
Did you see a point of like when the UFC started turning that corner? I mean, obviously like Ronda Rousey, like she came in and it kind of started that like in the UFC, not women's MMA, but like, do you think that was the point? They let Ronda in and then they opened up, what, 2 or 3 more divisions at that time?
Well, you know, I think they opened up the division for Ronda, so 135. Yeah. And then, so the organization that I was fighting for was called Invicta. It was all female fight league. So basically, I think the UFC was kind of keeping tabs on them. And they're like, well, we just want that whole strawweight division. But you know, Shannon, who was the president of Invicta, is just super passionate about women's MMA and want to see them grow. So she didn't want to stifle any of the women's careers at all. So she kind of was like, here, take them all. Yeah. You know, and then so that's when they did the 115 tough show. And then that's kind of what introduced the 15ers. And then there was a lot of girls like toggling back and forth between too big for 115 and too small for 135. And that's when they opened up the 25 division. Yeah.
I think that, like, weight-wise, right? I think that everything in the UFC should be in 10-pound range. Like 125, 135, 145, 155, 165, 175, 185, 205, right? Like, we don't need a 195-pound division just because I think that, like, if you get above 185 pounds, like, if your name's not John Jones, like, you're going to have a rough time. And I think they're a little light up at those divisions because if you're a super athlete, you're not going to go to MMA. You're going to play football. You're going to play baseball. John Jones is just a super athlete who wanted to fight people.
Right.
So, like, I think it's like, but so if you under the 185-pound division, I think it should be every 10 pounds.
Yeah.
And I think that they probably need to do that. Like, open up some of the 105-pound divisions too. Is the woman who owns Invicta, is she still owning in?
I know, I'm not sure if she's a complete 100% owner, but she's still heavily involved in it.
Yeah, they put those on UFC Fight Pass too, right? Like,
yeah,
that's cool. Yeah, they have some good fights, and again, like you said, a lot of women from that organization end up in the UFC.
It's a feeder organization into the UFC, and you know, Shannon has a really good relationship with the matchmakers out there in the UFC. So I think it's great. You know, it's great on both ends. The only problem with that sometimes is if you're trying to build an athlete for your own organization, and as soon as they become champion, they're like, look, I became champion, UFC. Come pick me up, you know? Yeah. So this like, dang, how many champions do we have to recrown?
Yeah, you're putting all that effort in. You have a big show, like this is the whatever 125-pound champion. She wins, and now
she's gone.
Yeah.
She gone. But it's kind of like this is Invicta alum, you know. So when you're an Invicta alum, you know that they're serious athletes, you know, and that they're ready for the big stage of the UFC. Yeah. You know.
That was kind of the 145-pound division? Like they created it for Cyborg, and then she lost, and then Amanda Nunes retired, and then now there's like that grab of like who's going to be the 145-pound champion. And I think that division's a little bit light too, right? Like there's not like they create for Cyborg. I think I don't even know if they fill out the entire like like top 15 like women in it, and I think that they had a snag like Invicta, like everybody who comes up at that 145 pound division, they kind of snag them right away to see if they're gonna like do good. And you got Amanda Nunes, which terrifying, so scary.
Yeah, I don't know, because like the Kayla Harris is coming in from PFL.
That's right, they just did sign her,
and she at PFL was fighting at 155, right? Or was it 55 or 45?
Yeah, 45.
But she's fighting Holly, who's my teammate, at 135.
That's a big cut. She's a bigger lady.
She's a big girl.
Yeah, but Holly Holm, she's
a big lady.
Yeah,
He didn't know what to say. He was like, she's a big.
Well, no. So if you look at Holly Holm though, like she's consistently just like doing the damn thing. Like she shocked the world with Ronda, and she consistently just has good fights. I think every once in a while, like she gets a bad decision, but she never gets like. There's never a fight where like she lost that. It's always close.
Yeah, for sure.
She's so tough.
She's always right there, and I think that this is going to be a great fight for her. And after this last fight for the women that just fought, Rocky, she did a great job, just kind of. Outpacing the girl that she fought. But I mean, hands down, I think Holly beats Rocky. And they fought before. I think they've actually fought twice before. So I think it'll be good. And that's the thing. I think that's the biggest thing that so many people are worried about with this fight against Holly and Kayla is, will Kayla make the weight? But, Holly has 100% confidence in her. She's a professional athlete. That's what they do.
And she's also like, when they fight, Kayla's got to be able to get her down, because if she stands up with her, it's not going to be great. Like Holly Holm's hands and feet are so good, so like she's got to be able to get Holly down, and it's hard to do. Ronda couldn't do it.
Right, and that's what I was just gonna say. Like, okay, but like you got to try, and also like, I don't think the world's really been able to see like Holly's grappling. She's just because she's so good on her feet. Like, but like training with her every day, she's strong as heck, man, and. She don't want you to move. You are not going to move.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. I'm excited for that fight.
Yeah, me too. It's always cool getting like new people from like other organizations that come in. Like when Vanderlei came in and fought Chuck, like that fight, like I was there and that fight was amazing. So anytime someone from another organization, like even Tim left Strike Force, came to UFC. I think he fought Hodger his first fight. Like that was awesome. Yeah. So anytime they bring someone in, it's cool. It kind of shows like, because again, Holly Holmes, she's a legend. She's one of the best female fighters, and you're bringing someone in from another organization to fight her. So we're gonna find out how good.
Right? Are there levels in different organizations?
Yeah, and because she's the best. She's the best from PFL. So like, if they bring in the best from PFL, like how is she gonna do? Because Holly Holmes, like, she's kind of the standard bearer for the UFC at that weight division. So it's gonna be interesting to see, like, if she's the hype is real, or is Holly going to stop another up and comer? Yeah.
So when you started training gi, did you ever do any competitions? Did you?
No, I've never competed in a gi.
Really?
Yeah. The last
do you
time I
have
competed
any
was
desire to?
The last time I competed was in 2008. I won Worlds no gi, and that was the last time I competed. I don't know.
You just have the desire to.
I don't know. Maybe someday.
Yeah.
See? I just started training with Lovato's camp, and he's all about competition. He wants everybody to compete. So. We'll see. He'd probably talk me into it.
Lovato's competing against Craig Jones.
I was just going to say, Craig Jones. How sad are you that it's not Gordon? That's what you wanted, right?
Yeah, I wanted Gordon versus Lovato. I wanted the super, like, basic pressure, awesome technique versus Gordon's, like, strength in those leg entanglements. I really wanted to see that. Because Lovato, like, his jiu-jitsu is so precise and it's so exact. It's so, like, it's not basic, because there's nothing basic about his jiu-jitsu, but it is. Like, you see him go against somebody and just the pressure, like, it's beautiful jiu-jitsu. I wanted to see that versus Gordon. Probably won't happen now, because he lost to Pedro Mourinho, which I don't think he really lost that
yeah, we were there for that fight. It was pretty, I don't know.
Do you have any desire to do, like, jiu-jitsu competitions?
I do. I would love to. It's just that, when... Like, at the point of my career, it's like the tail end of my career. And, like, I've just seen so many professional fighters go out there and take, like, a super match and just, like, in between fight camps and blow their knee or, take their shoulder out. Yeah. And then it puts them out of their fight career for a year, 2 years. And I just can't afford to do that.
Yeah. Do you think that maybe after, whenever you decide to hang it up from fighting, you think maybe that's something you'll do? Maybe you'll hop in there and like, do you like, so like Aljamain Sterling, for instance, right? Like he just did one.
Yeah.
And like it was different because the guy pulled guard. Aljamain Sterling was like, stand up. And he's like, no, this is jiu-jitsu.
Yeah, right. This is the name of the game here.
Yeah.
No, I would love to. Like, I mean, and that's what's so beautiful about martial arts. It's just like, it's never ending competitions. You know, my husband is like trying to talk me into doing the tactical games in April and like teaming up with him.
Yeah.
So I think that would be fun too.
Yeah, that'd be awesome.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah. So speaking of tactical, there's a rumor that you were a bounty hunter.
I was.
How long were you a bounty hunter for?
I don't know, 3 or 4 years.
What in Oklahoma or
No, well, I was. My office was actually downtown LA.
That sounds like a
Why'd you
crazy
get so
place to be a
excited?
bounty
Oh my
hunter. Oh my god.
But I just had, they give you a stack of cases and they say, go find these people and take them to jail. So I flew all over the country finding people.
Was it fun? What was it?
Oh, yeah, it was the best job ever.
What's the story? I want to hear a story.
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
I don't
How'd
know
you get
a
into that
story.
field? I mean, obviously you're like a police officer and you're just like, I'm done being a police officer. Let me go.
Yeah, and I actually, after when I retired from fighting, I just had a friend who was actually trained at the pit with me, and they were hiring, and he's like, hey, this girl, I know she's a police officer, she can fight, she'd do a good job, and
Yeah.
they interviewed me and they hired me.
Do you have any crazy stories about
Ah, man.
apprehending people?
I have 1,000 crazy stories. Everything was a crazy story. So I used to use, I had a fake Facebook profile.
Okay.
And so I would use that to lure people into
Catfish
meeting with
them.
me. And I think most of the time they thought I was a prostitute, but I didn't care. My goal was just to get them into the room with me. So I did that a lot. I would just either be waiting in this hotel room for this person to knock on the door, and then, okay, now I have to put them in handcuffs and take them to jail. One time I had a guy hop out of the back of my car. So we just had a company car. And so there was no cage like police officers, right? And so usually I always had the child safety light on, so they couldn't just hop out of the car. But I had him handcuffed, and he jumps out of my car in the middle of the intersection. I think I was moving when he jumps out of my car. And I think I was on the phone. So I'm like, I gotta go. And I jump out of the car in the middle of the intersection. I grab this guy. I grab him by his handcuffs and his feet. And I just throw him into the back of my car.
It's like a cartoon.
That sounds like the plot of a movie or something.
Yeah.
Like a movie scene.
Get back in there.
Get back in there.
That's going to be the
Where are
new
you
Point
going?
Break. The new Point Break's going to have you in it. It's all just going to be about stories about you bounty hunting. So if you flew somewhere to get someone, right? So let's say you flew wherever, Colorado, just to say. Would you you would go find these people and then you'd rent a car and drive them back?
Well,
or would you fly back with them?
It depended on the county that their warrant was out of. So if they wanted to extradite them, a lot of times we could just book them into the local jail. In New Orleans, I arrested this guy and we just put him in jail in New Orleans, and then the county paid for him to be flown back. But there were times where we flew them back. Handcuffed on the plane, okay, here we go. And then there's
crazy.
other times where you have to drive
to a good movie.
Yeah,
For real, right?
You need to write a book.
I'm working on it.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
That
Well,
sounds fun.
yeah. But we always had to book them usually in the county where their warrant was out of. So a lot of times you'd have this guy in your car for 20 hours. You're like, okay, why are you here?
Yeah.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
That's so wild.
That's so crazy.
Yeah, I can't even imagine that.
The last day that I worked, I was pregnant, 10 weeks pregnant with our 6-year-old. And I come home like, yeah, babe, I arrested this guy, this felony warrant. And he's like, okay, we're done.
You're done.
This seems a little maybe too dangerous.
By myself. It was great.
Yeah, I jumped on him, wrestled him to the ground, started beating him up.
The crazy thing is you were in a hotel room by yourself waiting for this guy to come in and then just
That's how confident you had to be in your skills.
Yeah.
and you're just throwing down with this dude.
Because you don't have a gun, I'm assuming, right?
No, you carry a gun everywhere.
you-
Yeah.
okay. you can have a gun.
Did
All
you
right.
ever get into scuffles with them and stuff?
I don't. When I was a police officer, yes, but I think I don't remember scuffling with people as a bounty hunter. I mean, if they try to run away, they're mostly just trying to run away, right?
Yeah.
So you just throw them to the ground and handcuff them. So
Me on belly.
nobody ever punched
No
me.
big deal.
Just throw 'em to the ground.
You just throw him to the ground.
No scuffles. You
I'm
just
not-
smash him on the ground.
Yeah, I'm not that confident in my ability to throw someone to the ground. You just throw him to the ground,
Well,
no big deal.
The nice thing about that as like opposed to law enforcement or some other kind of fighting is that you have the advantage of you're surprising them and you have one goal. You know that person's going to jail today, and that's my job. So I could really position myself tactically to make that happen. You know, like
that makes sense.
You surprise them, and by the time they figure out what's going on, you already have handcuffs on. So that's not always the case with law enforcement, like when I was a police officer, because you have to figure out if the crime was committed and who committed the crime. And so that, you know, that was more complicated. You're not sneaking up on people.
What were the like people who you had to go find on bounties? Like, what had they done that?
Oh, most of them were misdemeanors or, you know, didn't go to court or whatever. But there were a handful of, you name it, you know, felonies.
So I think that helps too, right? So I guess it's not like you're like going after like hardened like drug runners or like something like they're just.
We did have some cases that were pretty good, and
don't say things that you don't know, Nick.
But it was also a big
she said
company.
Misdemeanors, my bad.
she's downplaying it. Okay, it's like misdemeanors, a couple felonies, Pablo Escobar.
We actually took him out. Can't talk about it. So it'll be in the book.
Sometimes we got to work with the marshals and stuff like that because
that's cool.
Law enforcement was looking for the same people we were looking for.
Yeah.
So did you get paid more as a bounty hunter, like, or was it like per head that you?
I made a ton of money as a bounty hunter. So I worked for a big company though. So I don't know how most of the industry is, but I worked for a big investigations company, and so we had a company car, company computer, company credit card, and so I was on salary, and plus I got 10% of whatever their bond was. So if somebody was out on $100,000 bond, I'd get $1,000 extra on top of my check.
Great.
So that was the best job.
Did you ever have competitions like with the other bounty hunters, like who could get the most or who could get who first?
Yeah. I mean, it was always like, oh, what's your numbers this week, this month, you know?
So with that, did like whenever like there would be you'd get an email or something would come across your desk, could you just be like, hey, I'm going to take this one?
No, they hand you everything from your area. I had 3 counties in California, and they just give you a stack of files and like find these people.
This might be a stupid question. How did Dog the Bounty Hunter ruin the image of the bounty hunting industry?
So I've never watched the show. I don't have time to watch shows like that. But that's what everybody says. You know, they're like,
real?
Is it like that? And I've never watched the show,
So
but
you can't comment.
I've heard from the guys that I worked with that it was nothing like that. So I don't know, but that guy was pretty shady, I heard.
Oh, I'm sure.
We did shady stuff for sure, though.
Yeah, but you're allowed to because you're not like a cop, right?
I guess they're allowed to.
You're like kind of like in the gray area. So.
Yeah, well, we'd kick in a door,
and
people would just be like, "Who are you?"
Excuse
You know,
me?
and we had a little investigator badge and our gun, and so, you just if the person's not there, you just leave, and they're like, "That was
who issues that
badge?"
You're like, our door is all jacked up
Who
now.
pays for this now?
I would just leave. I'm like, "See ya."
Be like, oh, this is the wrong house. I'm sorry. My bad. I meant to kick in the next door.
They would just go to Walmart and buy the little like cowboy sheriff thing and just put that in
It was like plastic. Don't read it, guys. It's fine. I'm allowed to
But people,
do this.
if you carry yourself in a way, people don't even question you. They're just like, "Okay," and they just do what you say.
Interesting.
All of that sounds so sketcy.
It was so sketchy.
From the beginning, if you gone, they would run away. I just throw them on the ground. I am not that confident in anything. And then it's like, we just kick a door in with a badge. You carry yourself in a certain way. I'm terrified.
And Pat was in Iraq
and Afghanistan.
and he kicked in doors there.
Yeah, I don't like anything that's going on right now.
And Pat kicks in the door. He's like, "Hello."
That's so friendly.
I knock first. Hey, like, I know you guys are terrorists, but can you come out? Because I don't want to have to kick this door.
That seems too mean.
Yeah. The difference, though, I think about kicking a door in like America and then like in Afghanistan or Iraq is a lot of times you'll kick the door in and the house will just fall down in Afghanistan or Iraq.
Wow.
Yeah, the mud huts. Yeah.
Oh.
It's pretty bad. In America, they just look at you like you're crazy.
It is kind of a crazy thing to do.
Yeah, and then show your badge.
Was that at least issued by some sort of governing party or something?
No, because I mean, it just had our company's name on it.
But it looked
looked like
legit.
a badge.
It was legit.
Yeah.
That's so
It was
funny.
legit.
But I had some like because you didn't have to have a warrant to come into somebody's house that you were looking for because they basically sign away their rights to privacy. So that's why we could kick doors at all.
Understood.
But so there were some cases where like law enforcement was looking for somebody and they would call us, hey, are you looking for this guy? Is he, do you have a file for him? And if we did, we could kick the door and then they could go in.
Yeah. So
Loopholes.
Yeah.
Loopholes to the system.
sometimes you got to get it done.
I love this. I love this badge thing though. It reminds me of I used to work in New York City, and my boss would like park in front of our building, and you weren't allowed, like no one was allowed to park like in the streets in New York. And he just made up this like fake piece of paper. He's like, the company that I worked for, he's like official parking permit, like put on some like random numbers, NYPD approved, and like never got a ticket. Like did it every day for like 4 years.
Yeah.
That's
like
what
you own the place.
Yeah,
There you go.
you just have that confidence.
Just walk in like you own
Just
the
walk
place.
in.
Yeah, I park in the fire zone here on the backside where the whited lines are at, and I feel so bad about it every time I get out. But
Yeah, that's all good until the fire department comes
Yeah,
in.
exactly. But I feel bad because like everybody else will take the spots, and my office is right.
No,
by
no,
the
Pat.
door.
No,
I feel bad.
that's not accurate. Pat's the first one to show up in the morning and just parks there as like a flex to be like, I do whatever I want.
I mean, why you got to bring up old shit, bro? That was this morning.
I was talking to Chris Lytle about, because he's a firefighter, and I was asking him like the adrenaline rush you get when you're like going into a building or doing something crazy like that versus the nerves you get when you fight. And I was like asking him like, which one's like crazier? And he was explaining to me that fighting was harder because of anticipation.
Yeah.
Like, do you feel the same way? Like with the jobs that you guys have had, like and the adrenaline that you would get.
Yeah. So yeah, because like for me when I fight, like I got nervous, like because you're gonna fight someone,
Right.
so like I'd be nervous like all day.
Mm-hmm.
Whenever you're like, Iraq, right? I was in Iraq for one of my deployments is 15 months long, and you can't have that anticipation
Yeah.
that you would have for a fight because like it's too long.
You stress out.
Yeah. So like you just try to like stay calm and like relax. And so when something does pop off or you get in a gunfight or you hit by ID or whatever, it's like that. So it's hours, and like someone described combat as hours upon hours of boredom followed by seconds of pure terror.
Uh-huh.
So yeah. So like I would rather fight an MMA fight.
Really?
Yeah. But yeah, it's that it's quick.
Like the instant, you don't even have time. It's just, it has to be instinctive.
Yeah, yeah,
Mm-hmm.
and that's why you train the way that you train, like all the battle drills, like in combat, like react to contact, right? Like we train that over and over and over again. So when it does happen, it's like when you get in a fight, right? Like you'll think about things, but some stuff like you don't think about, you just react. It's the same way,
Yeah.
And you do it with the people you're going to deploy with. So whenever you get in a gunfight, everybody, like your team leader's in charge, but like it's like. My guys would like, one of the commands you would give is like get online, so they had everybody to push up behind cover like as close to online as possible. And then most of the time they would do that before I even said it. Like they would already be, I'd look over and be like, oh, we're good, let's go.
Uh-huh.
So like yeah, it's just the training it, but yeah, it's
You'd
Yeah.
rather fight.
yeah.
And what about like being a cop? Did you feel like there was like the adrenaline rush difference, or like?
I would have to agree. Like when you're fighting, that it's going to happen, right? And I was nervous all day, and then as soon as you like hear the cage shut, you're like, oh yeah, I know how to do this part, right? Because that's what you do all the time. But in law enforcement, there's no script.
Yeah.
You don't know. It's not like these are the rules, right? So and you have to make decisions constantly, make decisions that are sometimes life and death decisions. So I feel like that's the big difference.
That was
There's
more
no
stressful?
ref. There's no ref in like Iraq.
I don't know, like-
Afghanistan, so.
I don't know which was more stressful. I think they're similar in that you train for both, and so you're prepared. And so the more, I was more nervous fighting, I think.
I think too, like the jujitsu MMA training I did made me a little more confident in like Iraq or Afghanistan, because like if you kicking in a door and that like, so they could shoot me, but like I have the ability to probably beat up everybody in this country. So I had a little more confidence than most people, right? Because not everybody does like train jujitsu. Like I did it because it kept me out of trouble. Because I like when I joined the army, like I was kind of being a little jerk, and I was like, I gotta find something to keep those competitive juices flowing. So like I started training.
Except for wrestling, you started when you're 4, right?
Oh my god! Every podcast that happens, this is the first time a guest has done it.
Yeah.
Good job, Casey.
That was so good. Thank you so much.
Did Nick
Really
or
appreciate
did Zach tell you to do that?
Yes.
Yeah, I see it. He's not even in here and he still got me. So
That's what makes it so good.
yeah, but so both of you, so you're gonna instruct the Sheepdog Protector one this weekend, and you're gonna attend it.
Yes, I am. My husband and I came down here
Yeah.
for Valentine's Day.
Oh.
Yeah, it's
Romantic.
Yeah, it's gonna be so much fun.
It's such a romantic
He's used to
weekend.
me beating up on him. Anyway.
Yeah, so he was in the military, or he is or was in the military.
Yeah.
So like he's kind of got the tactical, or it's not tactical, but the shooting side of it.
Mm-hmm.
And he trains a little bit, or no?
Yeah, my husband was in the Air Force, and he was a MP in the Air Force, and then when he was deployed, I think he was deployed to Iraq. He got deployed with the Army unit, and then I hope I'm not butchering all the things that he's done, but when he was in the States in the Air Force, he boxed. He boxed for the Air Force, so he got to like go from place to place and
Nice.
box. And then he got out of the military and got into finance, but always stayed boxing. And since probably for I want to say like the last 8 or 10 years, he's cornered me for my fights.
Nice.
Oh, that's awesome.
So yeah, but yeah, he helps me with the guns and understanding and all of that
Nice.
stuff.
It'll be fun. It's gonna be a good course.
Yeah. How do you know what like is in store for the weekend? Like, do you have any idea of what's gonna happen?
Well, I don't know, but I just like so when we met up with Tim at SHOT Show,
Yeah.
he's like, "Hey, come through. We're training." So I said, "Okay." And
Yeah.
grappling, like I could grapple or whatever. So I showed up, and so I'm like getting ready to like tap in and go, and then he throws all these plastic knives and guns in the center of the mats, and he's like, "Okay, everybody grab something," and I was like. What? So I kind of got excited because it was like something new,
Yeah,
and so
yeah.
I'm like, I'm about to shake this fool.
The worst person to go with for me, the worst person I've gone with knives and guns, not counting Tim, is Yako.
Yeah.
Really? Yeah. Hawaiian dude.
Yeah, he's so sweet to me. He was really nice.
Yeah, the nicest guy ever, but he'll stab you 17 times. You don't know what's happening.
Because the knife just comes out of his beard.
Yeah. No, he'll be in your guard. He was like, for me, he was in my guard, and then I just felt something like poking me in the stomach. I was like, "What's going on?" And then he picked himself up. He was like, "I stabbed you 17 times. I hate you so much."
You're done.
Yeah. So So I won't be there for Saturday, but I'll be there for Sunday.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The fun part.
Yeah. The range stuff, and then the rolling with the knives. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, because I was like, okay, now's my chance, and I like pull out the knife, and he like takes it out of my hand, and I was like, oh.
That happens a lot. I don't start with any weapons. I just take whoever I'm going against weapon.
Yeah.
Especially with wrist locks. Last Saturday we had a couples course, or last weekend we had another couples course, and that I rolled on Sunday, and everyone who had a weapon to start with, they did that. They were like, oh.
But and then so one of the other guys, like, he had a gun, and I thought I was so cool because I like got the gun out of the hand and like slid it across the room. I'm like, yeah, now you don't have your weapon. And he's like, yeah, and my friend's over there, and he's gonna shoot you.
That's so aggressive. But that's so true.
100%. I think so. You're instructing. I think Flood will be here.
Matt's gonna be here.
Matt is the primary. And who's the
Francis.
Francis will be here.
Francis.
Yeah. So like all really good instructors.
Heavy hitters.
Yeah.
as Tim
Flood
would
though,
say.
the nicest guy, but like he's so good at jiu-jitsu and wrestling. Like whenever you're at the range on Sunday and you do the pummeling stuff, like stay away from Flood. Yeah. The first time I rolled with Flood, I was like somehow I was like, we can't stand up. We got to stay on the ground. I think I was injured, and we stood up. He just judo tossed me so hard. I was like, Flood, bro, I just said I'm injured. He was like, oh, my bad.
But did you die?
Yeah. Well, I thought I did. My man's so big. He actually owns Autos Weatherford. It's outside of Dallas. Yeah. He's a good dude.
Cool.
He actually goes today. He goes, I'm going to train at New Wave, so I can't do too much. And I was like, why are you even here, bro? Like, I would be like,
Right, he was at the lunch class, right?
yeah. I was like, I would be like getting some food, taking a nap. Like, there's no way I'd show up to this and then New Wave.
And then teach tonight. I guess
Yeah.
tonight's like an easy night. It's just like
because the
situational awareness.
situational awareness,
Yeah.
group, which is cool. I really like I didn't go. I went to one like shooting course, like civilian ran shooting course, and then I started working here, and I went to Protector One. I was like, this is like so much good information. Like, everything that they kind of put together is. This isn't a commercial for Sheepdog.
I mean, it kind of is, but
yeah. But it's a very well ran course.
Yeah.
I hope that you enjoy it.
Oh, I know I'm gonna have
Yeah.
so much fun doing it.
Casey, do you have any like words of advice to get her through this weekend?
No, she'll do great.
Drink water.
Keep your finger off the trigger.
Yeah.
Unless you're supposed to have it on.
You know, honestly, I think that's like I have the opposite problem. Like I'll shoot and then I'll automatically take. You know, like when you're in it,
yeah.
I like shoot and then I automatically want to go back to like safety where my finger's out. And my husband's like, well, you're still in it. You still got to shoot like 5 more times.
Yeah, but especially though, like the good thing though is that's not a horrible problem to have because sometimes we get people who come here and you'll be like, hey, like it's holster, and they'll be like, and you'll be like, nope, stop, don't move, stop it, don't holster.
Stop, pause, freeze,
Yeah,
freeze.
yeah. Or you'll be like, hey, like again, one of the problems is like locking the slide to the rear. Like that's one of the biggest problems that people have at the courses, just having the ability to like the weapons manipulation.
Even though everyone is told specifically before they come, do that like what 100 times.
Yeah.
No one does it.
Yeah.
Do what? No.
Exactly.
Go back to your
But
hotel
you're-
room.
Yeah.
Empty that weapon.
Yeah.
I'm sure they'll tell you again tonight before
Yeah.
tomorrow to do it. That's your homework.
Yeah, but it's like your husband has experience, especially if he was a military police officer, like having like because their primary weapon is going to be their pistol. So like he's going to kill it.
No, he was good, and he's been good teaching. I mean, sometimes so we've had like Nerfers at my house. We have like Nerf guns all over the house. But even when we play with the Nerf guns, like we teach all the kids like weapon safety. Don't look down the barrel. Keep your finger off the trigger. All these things. We all have eyes. So just even with the Nerf guns, I think it's important to start teaching
That's super
them.
important.
100%. Yeah, that's awesome.
I was actually going to ask the question. Do you have kids, or are you guys just having Nerf gun wars by yourself?
I have a 12-year-old daughter. She's about to be 13.
Oh, that's exciting.
I have a 15-year-old daughter. I don't know how to deal with life.
My daughter's starting to like go through like some hormonal emotional things, and I'm really emotional too, so sometimes she'll just start crying out of nowhere. I'm like, baby, are you sad right now, or are you just emotional? Like, which one is it? Like sometimes I have to like walk through it with her and be like, I think you're just sad because it's that time of the month. It's not like, don't take it personally. Just kind of breathe through it.
It'll be okay.
I have no idea how to deal with any of that with my daughter. Like she starts getting emotional. I'm like, call your mom. Call your mom. She'll tell me what to do. Like I have no idea what's going on right now. Like I didn't have any sisters growing up. I had all brothers.
Yeah.
Like I have no idea what to do. So,
Sometimes you just gotta laugh through it, or just give her a hug. I don't know.
yeah. What, Casey? How many children do you have?
I have 3 girls
Oh my god!
and a stepson.
I'm so terrified of everything.
I think that's actually why I enjoy teaching these classes, though, is because my girls especially give me a heart to teach women self-defense.
Yeah. Do they all do it with you?
No. So my oldest daughter's, 2 of them are adults now. And so I kind of made them when they were young.
Yeah.
And then my oldest daughter kind of got into horses and really loved horses. So horses is her things. But she thinks she's really good at martial arts, but she might do okay.
Don't listen to this podcast.
You'll never
I was
know.
holding pads for her one time, and she intentionally missed and kicked me in my face with her tennis shoes on. I was like, "Are you mad at me? Do we talk about something?"
Oh my god.
But, and then our middle daughter, she until she was 18 years old, and then like her 18th birthday, she's like, "I'm done.
She's like, I'm allowed to not do this
I'm
anymore.
allowed to.
I'm
Yep.
out."
I'm not doing this anymore." And then our little girl just competed. She's got her little yellow belt, so
that's
she's at
exciting.
the gym with us every day. She's our little helper.
That's awesome. Well, I think that
Yeah.
we got to wrap this up because you two ladies have a course to get to shortly.
Yeah, but
So-
thank you so much.
Thanks for
This
having
has
us.
been really fun.
Yeah, it's an awesome episode. Thank you so much for
Thank you
coming.
so much.
Yeah, do social media anywhere where they can follow you.
Karate Hottie, MMA.
Yeah. And Casey, you.
I don't even know what mine is.
Yeah. So, but you do.
I don't care if people.
You do have.
What about your gyms?
Yeah.
Like,
Oh yeah,
at
my
least
gym.
promo the gyms.
Okay. Deo Gloria Jiu Jitsu is my gym.
Awesome.
Okay. Cool.
Deo Gloria, is that like the town?
No, that means glory to God.
Oh, I love
Nice.
it. I love
I
that.
like that. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Cool.
Where's that located?
Paris, Texas is one of my locations, and then Broken Bow, Oklahoma, and Hugo, Oklahoma.
Okay. So
Awesome.
which one are you? The one that you teach at?
I teach at Paris and Hugo.
Okay. Great. Cool.
That's
Awesome.
awesome.
That's exciting. If you
I
guys are in the
still think
area.
it's awesome that you have a school in Texas and Oklahoma. I would make them gang fight. At least, like you do once a month. I would do like
We already talked about it.
yeah. You guys are gang fighting to figure out who's going to win this Red River rivalry game coming up.
No, we're like a big family.
Okay, hot question. Which is out of the 3 schools, which one is the best?
Well, the one I've had the longest.
Yeah. It's just had time.
They just had
Which
just
is
have more
just
time in the
higher
game.
bounce.
Why are you asking difficult questions like that?
Who are you?
Yeah,
I'm sorry.
He's trying to start a gang war. Anyways.
Another question. Who's your favorite child? I'm just kidding.
And go.
Yeah.
All 3 of them.
Yeah.
There you go. I only have one daughter. I also have a daughter. She's only like 5 months though, so
Yeah.
I'm just
Oh.
like in the beginning process of all this.
Does your daughter like to do any type of martial arts?
No, so she runs track, does cross country, and swims. So
Wow.
all she's like 5'7", skinny as a rail, looks nothing like her father, thank God. But also, just she's at a terrifying. And she was born on Halloween, so like her Halloween, like her birthday, like I can't deal with it.
Yeah. Aw.
Yeah.
But you got the best crew if somebody ever comes over and wants to date her. Like
100%. She lives in Houston, but I will drive down there and scare or terrify whoever she's going out with.
You gotta roll with like anyone that she like wants to date. So 2 things. One, Shane had like his daughter here and her boyfriend the other day. Yeah. He's like they were here once. I don't think he's ever coming back. I'm like you have to do what my buddy said that he was gonna do. So his daughter's like 12 probably. So he's like once she like gets like a boyfriend, the rule is like she can date whoever she wants, but like he has to come to jiu-jitsu. I'll pay for the membership, but just then like if he ever gets out of line, you know.
Yeah. So one of my buddies, TJ Wahlberger, he fought in the UFC, and he was dating our coach's daughter. Her name was Shayla. They broke up, and then she like if someone wanted to date Shayla, they had to come to the gym.
Oh.
But TJ they're married now.
Oh.
But if someone wanted to date her, they had to bring her to the gym, and TJ would just wreck them.
Oh my
like
God.
whoever showed up was like, I'm so and so going on a date with Shayla. I said I had to show up to jiu-jitsu class, and
Sounds so
TJ would
horrible.
just look at everybody like.
He's mine.
And I'd be like, oh my God, dude, just find a different girl.
It's not worth it.
Yeah. And we would just wreck. And John wanted Shayla and TJ,
Yeah.
which they did. It worked
Yeah.
out. But like, there was like a time where like, you put your life on the line if you wanted to date Shayla. It was rough. Yeah. But anyways, so
right.
thank you both
Thank
for
you so
coming.
much, guys.
Thank
Really
you.
appreciate it. This is super fun. All right. Have fun this weekend.
All right.
It should be a good time.
Excited.
Bye.